We'll start with team news. Arne, please. Jota, Chiesa, Conor Bradley, how are they?
I think they feel good, but not when it comes to playing for us during the weekend. Federico might train with us today or tomorrow, but Joko definitely not. And Conor Bradley will be. Let's see if he can be with us tomorrow.
We've obviously spoken about the toughest test you've had so far. You've mentioned Manchester United. We've spoken about Chelsea last week as well. But if they were the toughest test you've faced so far, what exactly are Arsenal?
I said before the game and after the game that I expect a lot from Chelsea this season, and I think they showed it also last Sunday at Anfield. They are a similar team as Arsenal when it comes to playing style. They also like to go with their fullback inside and come into the same formation as Arsenal. But if you look at the last two seasons, Arsenal were far ahead of us, but also above Chelsea. So you would assume that playing Arsenal will even be more difficult. But let's see in the end of the season where Chelsea and Arsenal both are. But normally you would expect, especially because it's also an away game, an away leg, that this one is even more difficult than Chelsea at home, and we all saw how difficult Chelsea at home was.
Well, last season Liverpool took just 3 points from the 4 games against the sides that finished in the top 2. Because of that, it feels like it would be a big statement, even at this early stage in the title race, if you were to take all 3 points this weekend. So, how do you see it?
We all know that taking points from your competitor and nobody knows in this early stage who is going to be your competitor or your biggest competitor, but I think we all know that Arsenal will be one of them, and then dropping points against them or winning points against them, that is always important. So you're right that I think it was 3 draws and 1 loss last season. Yeah. So if you make a simple if you use mathematics, is that the word? Yeah. If Liverpool could have won all 3 of them, I think the league table would have been a bit different. But it's difficult to win in an away leg against Arsenal, City, or all the other ones. But it's something we are trying tomorrow on Sunday, definitely.
Thank you.
Obviously, a certain level of pressure planning that goes into these intense periods. But when you're in such a good run of form, how much excitement is there bubbling underneath going into these big games? Because these must be the games that you join a club like Liverpool and come to the Premier League for.
In the life of a manager, and I'm talking about a manager, I don't know how it is for the players, but the excitement is for 10 to 15 minutes after the game. So when you're still on the pitch, you walk off it, and then you already start to think, okay, what I'm going to say to the players next when they all come in. And then afterwards you go to the press conference, and then your focus is already on the next game. So the excitement for a manager is maybe 10 to 15 minutes after good results. And but it's a very nice fixture to be in. That's clear. But there are many nice fixtures to be in. And Arsenal away is one of them.
Your start to the season continues to break records for a manager in their first season in the Premier League. Where does this start that you've made sit in comparison to your own expectations and also those of the targets that you set?
It's not that if I start the season I have targets how many points you want to have after a certain amount of games. It is what I just said about the joy you have after a game. It's 10 to 15 minutes, and that's also the way I look at the fixture list. So it's always the next one you try to prepare and not looking too far ahead, because that's of no use in football. So you don't go into a season thinking, after 10 games I want to have so many points, I want to have so many points. No, the only thing you want is your team to be best possible way and to prepare the team in the best possible way. And therefore you have your training sessions, your team meetings, and there's where your main focus is. And I'm not so much into how many points and where we exactly are. It's just trying to improve every single day. And that's what we're trying now. And that's also what's needed, because teams around us do the same.
Just 3 goals conceded so far in the league, which is clearly very impressive. how impressed have you been by the football element that brings that about, but also by the durability and the work ethic that the players showed? For example, against Chelsea last week, that how important are both facets of that?
Yeah, I think you say it in the right way. There are two reasons why we don't concede a lot. One of them is that most games, almost all of them, maybe except for one, we dominated and controlled that for large parts of the game. So it helps if you dominate, if you have the ball and you rest defenses in order that you then can concede. But I also like that if we have difficult parts in the game, or for a large part of the game like we had against Chelsea, that the work rate is incredible not to concede. And that is something that's very important. And if you combine that with having the likes of Virgil and Ibu and the two goalkeepers we've used till now, that is probably one of the reasons why these three elements, why we haven't conceded that much. And then to be aware of the fact that we also have Joao Kwanzaa and Joe Gomez, who are in a good place when it comes to centre backs. And the goalkeeper speaks for itself, I think.
The away record so far has been faultless. This is a difficult week in terms of in Germany, Wednesday, in London this weekend, it's Brighton next Wednesday. What sort of challenge does that represent, not just in a footballing sense, but logistics and the whole thing that sort of, you know, disrupted training and what have you?
Yeah, but that's part of our lives. That's also what the players are used to. If they play Champions League or like last season Europa League, you know that these challenges are there. You know also that they are experienced in this, how to take care of their body, what to do immediately after the game and the days after to prepare yourself in the best possible way. For this game we had 3 days in between, so that's more than we had before the Leipzig game. It's also more than we have for the Brighton game. Unfortunately for us, all these 3 games we have 1 day less in recovery than the 3 teams we face. But that is also part of a season and part of our lives, and I think these players are experienced enough and they get the help of a fantastic staff to be in the best possible way physically prepared for that game, and it's my job also to prepare them in a tactical way as well.
Thank you.
Hi Arne. In terms of the start you've made, have you exceeded your own expectations before the season?
Yeah, that's a bit similar answer that I just gave. There were not expectations from me. It wasn't like that I was at my holiday thinking about, okay, after 10 games, how many points do I want to have? No, the only thing I was thinking of was how am I going to try to bring the best out of this team that has been done for so long by Jürgen, and how can we continue that, and how am I going to do the individual meetings with the players, the team meetings with the players, and you don't think about points. For me, the way I think about it, it's about the process we are doing, what we do on a daily basis, and that, in my experience till now, leads in the end to points. That's why I didn't have expectations coming in when it comes to the amount of points we needed to have after 1, 2, 3 or 10 games. But there were expectations from me where the way I wanted to see the team playing. And I think that is matching my expectations at the moment.
Hi, Arne. I want to kind of return to something I spoke to you about before. It's kind of retaining slender leads in games. Now, last time we spoke after Wolves, it was very much about towards the end of the game, you were concerned about not taking chances, but weren't really concerned about giving up shots. Whereas in recent games against Palace, Leipzig and Chelsea, that's kind of changed. I believe it's 20 shots in the last 20 minutes of those games compared to 11 for Liverpool. Do you think maybe there's an element that Liverpool have been so good at defending these slender leads that it's starting to affect the balance between attack and defence towards the end of games?
I think every game has its own story. So the Leipzig game, I just said about the difference in the period of rest we had in between the games. So that could be a factor where Leipzig was in the end of the game a bit better than we were. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but it could. I think when I look at the Crystal Palace game, it was 1 or 2 transition moments where we were still, in my opinion, dominating the game, but we were a bit unlucky, or we didn't have the rest defense good enough in order to concede, combined with some set pieces. And I think the last chance Chelsea got was also from a set piece. So I liked it was only the last 6 minutes of injury time where we had at Leipzig, where we constantly had the ball and controlled it, and those moments were not difficult. So also the Leipzig game, the first chance they had in the last 10 to 15 minutes was from a second phase set piece. But yeah, you also concede a set piece if the other team is a bit stronger than you at that moment. So no, I'm not worried, but I prefer to see that we dominate till the end of the game. But it's also good to see that if we have to defend, that we have a team that defends with 11, with 2 outstanding centre backs and a goalkeeper that makes saves as well.
The last one for the breakout. Andy?
Anna, just to ask, how is Alisson progressing in his recovery?
Oh, he's progressing well, like we expect, but it's not a short-term recovery. So it's always difficult to judge him. I think the best way to judge an injury is in the end of an injury, the end phase of his rehab, and he's not there yet. So I can't tell you for how long he will be out, but don't expect him to be in against Brighton in the cup or next week.